there's a story I tell about Thomas Edison. He's an old man. He spends a long day at his factory. He's sitting down for dinner with his wife, and he gets news that the factory's on fire. And so he rushes back to the scene, and his son is standing there. His son's like shell shocked, basically, like their life's work has gone up in flames. And Edison, he grabs him and he says, like, go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again. And he ends up like, he tells a reporter, I think, like, I've been through stuff like this before. It keeps an old man from getting lazy. It actually energizes him. He rebuilds the factory. It actually ends up being a good thing like this horrible thing ends up being a good thing. And it's just funny that he actually finds some like fantastic pleasure in watching his, this interesting fire. But there's a Stoic concept called amor fati, which means a love of fate, which means you're not just supposed to accept the things that you can't change. You're supposed to say, like, this is meant to happen. This is good for me because I'm going to do, X with it. Like I'm going to be better for this happening. So like I don't want to just get up there and go, in the year 200 AD, this Stoic philosopher said this thing. I want to illustrate stories. Ideally, stories of very extreme situations. And it's helpful for me too to think, okay, so here's how Thomas Edison reacts when his factory burns down. So maybe when Microsoft Word eats, my manuscript or eats, the company report that you've been working on for 6 months, you're not going to freak out because that doesn't add anything, and you're going to remember what this other person did in a similar situation. There's this line I have in one of my books, and it's a quote from Bismarck, and he's saying, any fool can learn by experience. I prefer to learn by the experiences of others. So it's like, I think a lot of us are just sort of stumbling around in the dark. We just became a boss and now we're like trying to figure out how that goes, or, you just got married, or you just had a kid, or, you're starting a new company. And it's like literally millions of people have been in the exact same position that you're in right now. And some of them were much, much smarter than you and I. And they wrote this stuff down, right? Or other people wrote about what they went through. And so what I'm trying to do in my book is tell stories, and in my books and in my talks, tell stories and give examples of really hard-won wisdom. Like what do you do when your entire life's work burns down? Or what do you do when you're Amelia Earhart and you're this incredibly talented aviator and no one will give you a chance? What do you do in that situation? What do you do when you're Malcolm X and you're sent to jail for 10 years? What are you going to do with that time? What did those people do when they were tested to the very extremes, and what did they learn? And how can we apply that to whatever we're doing? That's what sort of drives me as a writer and as a speaker.